Okay, we've made it down to the girls and the geldings, the G barn. All right, I'm not gonna go through every single step as I do it here. It would take too long, but I'm gonna try to point out anything that's just unusual and just where stuff is. So first thing I do when I come down to this barn is clean. So we have a wheelbarrow right here, but now it's full of manure. The manure gets dumped in that compost pile way back there. Usually I just throw it in the front end loader of the tractor and drive it down there. If you're not comfortable with the tractor, you can always just dump it every time you use it. This way I usually get, he's sneezy. I usually get, a full day out of it before I have to dump it, instead of having to do it twice a day. Let's see. So when I scoop, I use, apparently the alpacas have been messing around last night. I use the metal rake and the plastic scoop and go ahead and rake everything up and fill it into that. Sometimes if I'm doing the larger group of girls, their manure pile gets pretty big and sometimes pretty wet. And if that's the case, I will grab the shovel and scoop with the shovel because I can pick up more and carry more with that. And then even sometimes I'll just bring the wheelbarrow right over to where I'm doing it so you don't have to take so many steps. But mostly, so you're scooping out here for the smaller group of girls, out there for the bigger group of girls, and then the geldings have an outside pile as well, kind of in this dirt spot. They tend to put some. And then inside, all three groups have an inside spot as well. Inside here, and the kind of over between the fans over on that side, and the geldings have a spot right inside their fence as well. So I clean up first. Hello, Vicky Vale. Nice mustache. Okay, so I've cleaned up the areas for all the alpacas. You still see that I have some bedding that's down. So this is wood pellet bedding, typically for a horse stall. For a horse stall, you'd put 3 bags of this down, then you soak it a little bit so that it puffs up and gets nice and soft. I don't bother to soak it because these guys are going to put their manure or their urine on it very quickly, and so I just spread it around where I want it, and then I won't clean it all the way up to the floor every day. I'll wait a couple of days until it's really soaked everything it can soak up, and then I'll get the shovel and I'll scrape it all up and then start over. But today, for this area, I've left some down. That's going to continue soaking up some urine, but I've got my bag out. I'm going to put a little bit extra in. So I usually I tear the bag in one corner and just pick it up and pour it right out of that. That's pretty much the easiest way. Sometimes I also put it up on my shoulder before I open it, and I'll when it's a brand new bag, and I'll open one end and leave it on my shoulder and let it pour out from my shoulder. It tends to flow easier that way. So if you have the hole at the top, not at the bottom, you have it at the top, it'll flow much easier coming out of the bag and get the job done quicker. And there you go, that's what it looks like when it's done. I just put some new stuff over top of the old stuff. That stuff's going to soak up any moisture and start to fluff out. It's going to take up a lot more space. It pretty much triples or quadruples its size once it starts to get wet. I guess I need to point out where these bags are. Usually I have an open bag here that's kind of next to the can of food, or down at the end is where I usually have the bags piled. So I'm going to grab one from there. Next thing I do is waters. Now, for the large group of girls, they're on automatic water. So as I showed with the boys, you just do the same thing with the girls here to clean out their water bucket or their waterers. For this small group of girls and for the geldings, we have buckets. So I've got 3 buckets, 1, 2, 3, for the girl alpacas, and then the geldings have 1 big bucket, which I filled yesterday. So usually the geldings usually takes maybe 2 days for them to get near the bottom of theirs, and also I'll rinse it and clean it out and then refill theirs. For The girls, it's multiple times a day. So it's at least the morning and evening, and when it's hot out, it's usually, around noon or so as well. With our hydrant, you'll need to make sure you keep this little carabiner on it. Just give it a squeeze, and it kind of turn up on its edge, and it will slide right out, and then you can just click it back in. Otherwise, this girl here, who's, see, itching herself right there, that's Jewel. Jewel will decide she likes to itch herself all over that hydrant, and when she does, she lifts it and turns it on, and then the water runs all night. So make sure you put the clip on every time you're done with it. Let's see, anything else interesting about water? Oh, for feeding, for putting water into the geldings, there is a green hose right around that bucket over there. It's very short. It's a short little hose. I use that to run the water over to them. For the little girls, I usually just take the bucket off, rinse it, clean it, bring it over, fill it on the hook, and put it back. I don't really run a hose to that one. I don't like running the hose over top of their manure pile, even though I usually clean it before I do this. Probably a little loud over here, all the fans are going, but I hang the bucket that I fill it with. So I use this to fill the waters for the little group of girls. And then when I'm done with it, I come up to the big fan. I just latch it on the back side of that fan, so it's hanging on the other side. Alpacas won't get their necks caught in it, but it's easy for me to grasp when I need it. Next is hay. So we've got one bunk here for the moms. They always keep filled with good hay. Then we have 3 bunks over with the big set of girls. They get 1 bale in the morning, spread out across the 3 bunks, and then and that's it. In the evening, they'll head back out to the pastures, and they can eat grass out in the pasture. The moms, they get kind of choice of hay or pasture. They'll have nighttime access out as well. And then for the boys, they've got a bunk here, and we fill that every couple of days for them. They don't really go through it as fast as the other groups, and it's a lot of hay there for. Okay, with the hay, you usually just take 1 full bale, don't open it, and I'll pick it up, and I just chuck it over the fence right there. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. So I'll come over here, throw it over the top where there isn't an alpaca. All right, and then I grab the blue scissors that are always stuck in the hay right here. Go back out the gate. So that's what I like about it, is it makes it so that I don't have to try to carry that bale through the gate. Alpacas, of course, like to start eating as soon as it comes out here, but then I'll walk it over to the first bunk. Excuse me, Harper. Put it in. Cut right before the knots. Pull on the knots to unleash the hay. And I usually wrap this up. Nice ball when I have 2 hands available. So I can have it kind of like this. Take the scissors, put that with it. Maybe throw that in my pocket. And then I'll grab 2/3 of this bale, so probably from right about here, and I'll take this over and I'm going to split this among the other 2 bunks that are out there. And then we have a spot for the garbage just outside the gate here. Just have it sitting in this chute. And let's make sure we put our scissors back inside. So we repeat the same thing for the girls. But for the small group of girls, already done them. They have their hay. And then we can do the same for the boys if they need it as well. Let's talk about when they're out. So the moms, have this gate right here. And so since it's morning right now, I'm going to shut this gate so that the moms are going to kind of be in for the the day. And I'm gonna open that gate over there and let the boys out for the day. And then in the evening I switch them. And that's why I feed the boys. They get their feed in the evening, which we'll talk about in a second, so that I can bring them all in, lock the gate, and then let these girls out. Make sure you get all the boys in, otherwise, well, they're all gelding, so nothing bad will happen, but let's keep them separated and make sure they don't annoy the girls anyway. So I'll open that gate here this morning so those boys can have access out. All right, so manure, hay, water, and then feeding. All right, so for feeding the girls, the mamas, I should say, we open up this gate, I step on out, and sometimes I get nice and lucky and Stormy will just decide to come out. Hi Storm, you wanna come out? And then that way, she gets her own set of feed. Come on, Skinny. She's a skinny girl, so I'm gonna give her a little pop on the butt. And she's gonna walk on out here, and she gets her own feed out in the aisle. I feed her before I feed everybody else because she takes a long time to eat, and I wanna make sure she has the time that she needs to get through it, because she is a little skinny. And then once she's done eating, I'll feed the rest of the girls, and I'll let her in, and she can eat again out with them if she decides to. Usually she goes right for the hay. So she'll get fed. So how do I do that? Well, that's simple. I grab one of the green buckets. I come over to the feed. You see it says Girls Alpaca feed. And I'll grab 2 scoops for her. Put it right on down and let her just get to it. Then when it comes time to feed the rest of the girls, we've got a big scoop in here. It usually takes 5 of these scoops to fill this bucket up, and that's enough to feed all of the girls. Now the boys don't get fed in the morning. Like I said, they get it in the evening, but when evening comes, their food is over here by their pen. Lift it up. Look, it says gelding feed. They've got their own bucket. They have their own scoop. For them, it's fill it all the way to the top, but 1 full scoop will feed the 5 of them. And I just disperse it around to all of their dishes. And then I put a little extra in the 2 dishes inside. And then I have the 2 gray boys get to stay inside and get this extra food. So I just slide that door shut, and with these 2 gray guys in here, and they'll eat. They know to stay in. The gray guys will stay in. You do sometimes have to kick Trouble out. He's the llama. He likes to eat in here too if he can. So we kick him out so he can eat outside with the other 2 boys. So that's what happens to feeding the llamas in the evening. In the evening, we repeat what we did here for the girls, but only for the mamas. Those girls don't get a second feeding. All right, so it's time to feed. Everybody's waiting. What I do, I like to have a path to follow. So my path of least resistance is I come through this gate, or even sometimes I'll feed from this side of the fence. I'll feed that dish, this dish, which keeps them distracted as I go through this gate. And then I work my way counterclockwise. I'll hit these dishes, the dishes in the corner, then on the other side of this fence is a set of dishes, and I work my way around out to the fence out there. I get those last 2 that are out there. I go through the gate, and then I run the outside and do all the buckets from the outside. That's why I don't have to contend with all the alpacas. And then I'll come through the man gate way down the end. I'll get these that are on this short fence. There's a couple right outside this wall here. I'll get those done, and then I wrap inside this door here, and I've got I think there's 3 along the fence on the inside. We'll get those done, and then I come back out through the man gate on this side, put the food back into the container, and we're all done. That's the least amount of spitting, the least amount of pushing. Works the best. In the morning, we want to make sure we get all the fans on. So you've got a plug in the corner that runs the fan on the floor. You've got a plug here that runs the fan overboard, and you can turn on the boys' fan. I just turn it on the back. Then we move over. We've got 2 fans on the ceiling. Those are on a thermostat, so you don't have to worry about them. But we've got these 2 fans on the floor. This fan hooks into that plug right there, and so I'll hook that up in a bit. And then the white fan has a plug over top of it. It reaches right up to that plug, and we can plug that one in on the bottom. Then we move over to the next set of fans. We've got 2 fans here. They both go into this outlet. We move on down the line. We've got another fan on a thermostat you don't need to worry about. And the other fan's plugged in. You just need to turn on the switch with a full twist, and we'll have air there. So I'm gonna fire up all the fans, take care of all the cleaning here. If I think of anything else interesting, I will let you know. All right, there we have it. Everybody's doing their thing, eating their food, clean and happy. But not so happy. I wanted that piece of grass. The llama alpaca standoff. All right, so my last thing I have to do is I'm gonna open up that gate for the boys. I like to wait till the alpacas are pretty much done eating. Otherwise, the geldings like to come try to slurp up any extra food they can get. So we've got some crias here that are eating on the end of the fence post here. So I'm just gonna wait until she finishes up. What do you say? All right, and that'll do it.